Maybe. Hello, everyone. I'm your host, Chris Garris, and welcome to the Transporter Room. Today, we have a very special guest join us, Joel Valis. Joel is one of the hosts for the Tex-trek podcast and one hell of a Star Trek fan. Thanks for joining me today, Joel. How's your day been?
Oh, I had a day off, so I've just been sitting around watching Trek on YouTube, and not doing much. So it's been great.
So I haven't had a chance to meet you in person yet.
Not yet, because I didn't get to Dallas.
Yeah, you didn't get to make it to Dallas, but we've had I think we've been on some of the first reactions, and I've just been on some of the other podcasts, the text-trek, live chats, and so I think you are the last text-trek host that I have to get to meet, and
that's for that. No, just kidding. That's not true.
Nah, I've already got to meet Father, Rachel, Taylor. So yeah, it's just a matter of us making it to a convention together, and I suspect I'm going to be going to Chicago this year.
Yeah, I'm going to try. The reason I didn't last year was like it's so close to STLV. I was just like, I don't know if I can afford it, but that's why I picked San Francisco that I just got back from. STSF.
Heck yeah. And that's what I was going to ask you about. How was STSF? It looked like it was a blast again.
It was a blast. It was pretty small. I mean, especially compared to obviously Vegas is huge.
Well,
that's I've been to bigger cons when I was initially going to them in the late 80s, early 90s in Minneapolis, but those were just like the big ones, like when Shatner and Nimoy were there. It was huge. But there were smaller ones that were about this size before. So yeah, I think they said STSF won't be there next year, but they'll probably bring it back the year after, like every other year there.
Okay, well, that's fine if they do something like that.
That's fine too, yeah.
Yeah.
Because I'm here in Minnesota, so I had to fly out there anyway.
Exactly. And then Minnesota, so that means for Chicago being just an easy jump for you to get there, then almost.
I think I'll fly though. I'm sick of driving to Chicago. So I've driven to Chicago, gone to see a band, and then driven back immediately.
Oh,
don't do that. But
no,
I've done that multiple times.
Golly,
this time I would just fly and get a hotel. Yeah, it'll be just like going anywhere.
Yeah, no. Well, that's just like for me to go to Dallas was a 7-hour drive, one way.
Chicago's a little farther than that for me, but not that much. It's very close to
that. That's nuts. So I was going to ask, so what got you into how'd you get into the podcasting and getting on the shows? Did you do your own show, or what got you onto here?
Well, everything starts in the pandemic, right?
That's what I've been hearing.
Especially online stuff, right? I mean, not like I haven't been permanently online since the 90s, but so I work at a grocery store, so I always had to go to work no matter what. So, but I didn't go anywhere else. I just stayed at home. And so I started finishing all the Star Trek I hadn't seen. It was all on Amazon at that point. And because my brother was like, "Oh, I've been working out and just finished watching Deep Space Nine." I was like, I didn't finish Deep Space Nine initially because I went to college. I watched from Next Generation, Encounter at Farpoint through 95, fall of 95 when I went to college. I watched everything as it aired. So part of Voyager, part of Deep Space Nine. But then I couldn't really, there's no way for me to watch it at college. So I kind of fell off. And then I would watch reruns of what I could, TNG and stuff. But Deep Space Nine was at a weird time. So I finished that in 2000. And I finished Voyager too, because the same thing. I didn't see the last few years. Then I finished Enterprise because I'd watched part of that. I hadn't finished that. After that, I'd seen everything. So I started back at TOS. Rewatched that animated series, which I might have missed a few episodes of that, but I saw most of that on Nickelodeon. Then I rewatched everything I'd seen. I watched TNG. I watched every movie again. So I rewatched all of Star Trek in about 9 months. And about 3/4 of the way in, or halfway through, I was on Facebook and I'm just like, I need some Kai Wynn memes or something. And someone's like, you go to this Facebook group, Feminist Moogie Corps, shout out to them. And then I saw a link to a Star Trek video on YouTube from Jesse Earl, and I watched that, and it was hilarious. And then she had lives, and so I started watching those. And that's the first time I heard someone try to say my ridiculous username. I didn't have Joel in front of it. I was like, holy crap, I got to put Joel in front of it. Can't have people trying to say that ridiculousness. And then I see, but there'd be a lot of people there because you'd talk to someone or play video games or something. In the chat, I would see there's a few names popped up, and she would talk about them because she knew them. Starfleet boy, Starfleet Sohail now because he's a man now, and tex-trek. I'd see their names in the chat. They would give like a super chat or something, like whatever. And Jesse's like, "Oh, I love your channel" or something. Da, da, da. So then I sort of stalked them. I found Starfleet Boys channel and then tex-trek's channel, and I would be there. I would be in the chat, and then so me being on screen is an extension of me from the chats of those two.
Okay.
I just sort of ascended like the guy in Lower Decks. Except for the screen from the chat room. That's why I printed up these business cards to give out in San Francisco, and I put chat-based life form on them because that's where I was originally from. The YouTube chats. Because I got addicted to my name being appearing on screen, like when they StreamYards, you can like highlight it for tex-trek and Starfleet, and that was fun. Oh, and speaking of which, I have to have my sign. Hi, Jill and Cake. The other two people in my chat triumvirate. So
they are always on tex-trek.
Yeah. So then we'd start all going to the same things, and then and then there's more people too. If you watch, you'll see this sort of it's people are sort of migrating between the various shows, the various nights, and then sometimes on Friday it gets split a little. If you watch both tex-trek and Star Trek and Chill,
I know, I split them.
I got you see the same people in the chat.
I always laugh. I'm like, and it's so funny because like sometimes I'll start over at Star Trek and Chill. And you've got Dave, Chuck, they're always there.
Oh yeah.
And I'm trying to think who else.
I met more people from that chat in San Francisco. So.
Yep. And then so that means then that means you've met Dave because he was.
I met Dave at STLV. He wasn't at San Francisco, but I met him at STLV. Yeah.
And then you met
Chuck.
You met TJ, I bet. Now he's not in the chats, but if you met TJ,
I did meet him. He was at San Francisco, I think.
Yes, he was. Along with Allison,
Father and I talked to him.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. Yeah, I'm looking forward to getting to meet Chuck, Dave, TJ. All of them. I cannot wait, and even you, and all the people that I haven't gotten to meet in person yet.
So Sunday.
Yeah. So I'm gonna come back I'll do a Monday. So everyone said come back Monday, so I did. And I was glad I did because we hung out Sunday night and just got to finish up the friends I met and just get to hang out for one last time, and so that was fun. So
in San Francisco, Sunday wasn't super busy. A lot of people stayed, but Vegas, everyone stays Sunday.
Yeah,
everyone, because Vegas, half the con, no matter what you do, is at the Masquerade at night, the one bar.
Okay.
That's where you'll meet everyone. And okay, and afterwards you're really sad. So I come home and I start watching everyone's recap videos, and I could see myself in a ton, just the back of my uniform because I'm sitting here at the bar or whatever. But so that's how I try to deal with coming back from STV. Is I just start watching all the videos and or someone's filming a video and I was like, that's the back of my head.
Yep,
that's the back of my uniform. And
so I was going to ask, so since you've been doing this and with tex-trek, I'm trying to remember, have you been on the salon?
I've been on the salon once.
Okay. I thought I remembered once.
Yeah, not a lot, but they had no one. So I was like, oh, sure, I can do it.
Cool.
Because I was always in the chat.
Yeah.
So I knew this. That sort of spun off from first Starfleet Sohail had, what was it? The Twitter Spaces, the audio thing.
Mm-hmm.
He had that for a while.
Oh.
And then he started doing, because he had his own channel and stuff, but then he switched that to a different live show on his channel. And then he had like your show the other night, he had like 8 or 9 people.
Mm-hmm.
And the Salon guys were guests on that. And they'd been on Spaces too. And then it sort of spun off from that. So
Okay.
I've known them. I met them in Vegas both times. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I've been on that show.
Group.
And I've also Starfleet Boy After Dark, which it's Sohail's show, but it's still S-Bad. He always says he changed the name, but he just changed the logo. If you look it up, it's still SBAD on YouTube, which I couldn't find for the longest time. But that's sort of like, we did it a few Fridays ago. Friday nights after tex-trek, sometime at like 10 or something.
Yeah.
And that'll go like forever. It used to happen all the time. It doesn't happen much because of work for Sohail and stuff like that.
So I didn't know that.
It hasn't come up much recently, but that was one of the. Then you just go and hang out, and it's so fun. It's basically just tex-trek, people from the Salon, Sohail, and maybe someone else, and random people,
just shooting the shit.
It's always different, and
yeah. I was surprised. It must have been. It was the one I haven't watched it all the way, but I saw this come up. Yeah, it was just a few weeks ago, and I was like, "Oh, this is the Salon After Hours, whatever." And I started watching it, and just it was interesting because everybody is just, not that they're not themselves on the regular, but it's just
they're drinking, but.
Yes. Yeah. So, which was awesome. It was fun. I like. Yeah. I need to go watch it. So that. Oh my god, that was fun. That was interesting to see everybody. So, let their hair down per se, and some of us don't have that much to let down. So,
Yeah, I know what you mean, but
yeah. So now, since you've been on tex-trek so far, who has been your most memorable person to interview?
Well, I think I've only interviewed Mike McMahon.
Yep.
That was the only one I was on. So the other people on there, I mean, Father, because I just joined the last year, have done a lot. Mm-hmm. And I've gone through, I watched every episode of tex-trek, which I guess that's how you get on your shows, kids. Just go ahead and tell them you watched every episode and actually do it. And then they'll be like, what? That's insane. There's 300. I'm like, yeah, I know. I'm like, because I would put on my one monitor, I would put tex-trek. I'd turn it up to 1.25 speed, like everything. And then I'd play Stardew Valley and on my other monitor. And then there you go. Get through a few hundred hours. Doesn't take long.
That's the way to do it.
Yeah.
That's the fastest way to do it. Oh my God. I may have to do that because there's some that I have not gotten through just because there's so many episodes.
It was I'll shout out Movie Magic. That is the YouTube channel for Robbie. He posted he does that in the chat. And I was just like, does that work? 1.5 is too fast for me. Mm-hmm. You can do it, but you have to sit and listen. You can't you can't multitask.
Yeah.
Because you can listen maybe even faster if you only concentrate. But 1.25 basically erases the spaces in between words. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't pitch you up enough to sound really weird. I don't even mind myself because I usually watch what I'm in later to see how it went. I don't even hate how I sound at 1.25 because it's not that much faster, but it does. Yeah. You can cut 20 minutes out of 90-minute thing, and you're like, well, that's good.
That's good. Well, and I've learned how to do that now when editing.
Yeah.
To do it a little bit, do it fast enough so that I'm hearing all the words, but it's not like chipmunks.
Yeah, you know what they're saying, so
yeah, you know what you're saying, and then gotta stop, go back. But yeah, it helps. Believe me, oh, God, it does help. But though, I would love to be. I've been kind of jealous of, y'all got to interview Mike McMahon when y'all were on there. I talked to Captain or Goodwill recently. He was on the interview with Mike McMahon with Mike Overton over on Clone Star Pod.
Yep,
and I'm like. Oh.
There's other
that's a
people
goal.
too who I kind of know just from being in the chat. Aaron Walke, one of the writers and one of the producers from Star Trek Prodigy, he knew me when I went to the first S2V was 23. He knew me from that. And then we met someone who knew me, who watched, or I don't know if they're a podcast listener or they watched the show, but we didn't know who they weren't a chatter. They knew someone knew who I was just from my name being on the screen, or Father E saying, "Oh, Joel in the chat said," and that blew my mind because I had never been on camera, and I met someone at STOV who knew who I was. That was insane. And then, last year at STOV, I got to talk to Aaron Walke again, and a bunch of other. I met people from all over the Trek sphere. I met, the Trek Yards guys who are great. I met Sean from Trek Culture and Ellie from Trek Culture, Who Culture, and all these great people I got to talk to. And all the people, the Strange New Pod stuff. I'd already met Giraffe in 23, but I talked to everyone. And it's just, the list goes on and on at the bar. It's like Trek YouTube is at the bar. It's the masquerade, basically. And it's weird. And they're like, "Oh, it's you." And then, it's kind of mind blowing because the rest of my life is not like that at all. But
so
at the bar is different though, because you expect to talk to people at the bar,
Oh yeah, it was so much fun.
The same bathroom as many Star Trek celebrities, but yeah, you don't say anything then.
No, you don't. I'm trying to remember. I think I was in the elevator at one point with Ethan.
That's
Phillips.
a middle ground. You never know. You can't maybe. If you've already seen him today, I would say, "Oh, you did a great job." I wouldn't feel bad about that. But
yeah, no, I think I might just. I don't even know if I said hello. I may have, but
there's that whole elevator thing where you're not supposed to talk anyway. But
exactly, you just don't say anything unless you know the person, and I didn't know the person, so. So obviously, I'm assuming. Are you planning on going to 25 STLV this year? 25?
Oh, for sure. Oh God,
okay. Yeah.
Everything in my life's planned around it. Literally.
Eventually, that'll be me, and I am going to do a cruise one of these days. Everyone says you've got to do a cruise at least once.
Yeah, I haven't done the cruise yet. Yeah, it is, but I know. But people do say if you add up, a hotel room for a week in Vegas,
yep,
you're halfway to the cruise anyway.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's not cheap. Even when though I should. Apparently, the word on the street. I didn't do this the last 2 weeks. I just used the creation discount. But apparently, everyone at other Star Trek Facebook said, if you join the Real Rewards program, you get a cheaper room than even the discount from the convention. So that's what I'm going to do this year. I'll probably book that in the next month or something. But
so I'm going to ask. So what got you into Star Trek? What was
my dad. My dad watched the original series as it aired in the 60s. And then I probably went to I don't remember the motion. I was 2 when the motion picture came out, and not much older when the second one came out. But I remember seeing The Search for Spock in the theater because I was very upset the Enterprise died. I don't even know how much I'd seen. I must have seen Star Trek 2 because I actually had the Viewmaster for Star Trek 2 with the SETI 3D SETI eels, which is hilarious. I don't know where that went. I'll have to buy a new one because it's hilarious. But so it was always there in the background. And then at some point, I remember because we'd moved. So it must have been after I was 7. The TOS was on at like 6 o'clock. So we would eat dinner and then all go watch Star Trek, the whole family. And that was starting at 85 or something. So I'd seen all of TOS. I had a Starlog magazine that had an episode guide. So I'd gone through and I was like, oh, there's none left. I've seen them all. And then that was before TNG premiered in 87. So I know I'd seen, I was the very last people who saw TOS because that was it before Next Generation premiered. I hadn't seen the TAS yet. That was a little later when it showed up on Nickelodeon. And my dad had all the log books, the But and then so that I saw Encounter at Farpoint when it premiered that week, and then I watched everyone, and then Deep Space Nine. I loved it from the get-go. I had a Deep Space Nine shirt in like '93, which is wholly in somewhere around. I don't know where it is. It's somewhere in the other room, but I don't wear it anymore. But it's there.
Yeah.
Because I just loved Kira so much. It was like this is the most amazing character right away. It's just Kira and Garrick, and then that episode where you find out he's had that anti-torture device just on for forever, just to get by. That just blew my mind. I loved it so much.
Something you just said, it just made me said Kira. It just made me think. And I guess you can't relive in you can't live in the past. But I wonder if Michelle Forbes, semi regrets not taking.
I don't think she ended up homeless and out of work completely. So I think she's okay. But
yeah, I mean she's okay, but
she didn't get the movie career she hoped for. But I mean that was always a gamble.
True.
You're an actor. It's like. But
yeah, it's the job.
But she probably goes, well, I didn't have to sit in the makeup chair.
True.
I mean,
very true.
Not that Nana didn't have to do the Armin thing or Renee. Oh my god. God. Just the nose is doable, probably. But
yeah. No, that was fine. But no, that's what I always liked about one of the things I loved about DS9 is that she would speak her mind. Period.
Oh,
no matter what. Yeah, I mean, eventually, they settled down. But even then, if Cisco was basically irritating her too much, she'd let him have it.
Yep,
in a nice way. But
she respected everyone there. Yeah, but
eventually,
that didn't mean she wouldn't tell them. Well, yeah, not the first episode or whatever.
Correct, exactly. Well, and I always got frustrated with Cisco on the first one because he was not very nice to Captain Picard. But later on,
I think I got that when I first watched it. That, having him involved in the death of your wife because he was taken over. But yeah, I could see that. I probably would have been worse. Than what Cisco acted. I probably wouldn't be in Starfleet because I get kicked out for telling him to get bent or something.
Well, and it was somebody I don't remember who I was talking to, a friend of mine, and they pointed that out. That it's like no. He killed his wife. I mean, yes, he wasn't,
It's not his fault, but...
It wasn't his fault, but still, after they told, I was like, okay, I get it. I understand why...
A living symbol of your spouse's death is not someone you really want to be around.
Correct. I understood his animosity after that, and so it was fine. And so now I'm assuming DS9 is your go-to series.
Yeah, I love them all. I don't... And... the top ones are probably TOS, Deep Space Nine, and then every animated one. Because Lower Decks and Prodigy I love so much, and I love TAS too. Because that was one of the never miss shows was Starfleet Sohail's. Because he's done all of TNG, he's done TOS, and he's done TAS, and he started Deep Space Nine, and he's done the new shows too. But I was in the chat for every one of TAS. I started at the end of TOS, like season 3 or something. I've gone back and watched them, but but yeah, the TAS is just. I love all the animated ones. Yeah, I mean, it's not like I don't like Next Gen. I love them all. There's none of them I don't like.
I haven't watched TAS. I have not watched the anime. Well, I'm going through it. Well, we're going through it on Search for Trek. So we're watching all
and go watch Starfleet Sohail's shows about it because he's got Aaron Harvey, who wrote I don't have it with me, it's in the other room. Yeah. But he wrote one of the two people who wrote the book on the animated series. So he knows everything. He's also on a lot of the animated ones he was on the Lower Decks ones in tex-trek. And then, it was usually on screen it was Fathery, Sohail, Aaron, and maybe someone else. But so it's amazing discussions, and they're great. Well, it's 70s animation, so it's kind of weird. But the The received opinion about that show is that it looks bad.
Yeah.
And it doesn't. It looks bad compared to Disney movies made at the same time. But those were rotoscoped and had unlimited budgets.
They had Disney money. That's what you're saying.
Like, I mean, because not like Snow White when he made that and he was a hope and prayer. But, like the 60s and 70s Disney is absolutely amazing looking. No, it was not that. But it was better than anything else that was on television. Because, I mean, Clutch Cargo was only 10 years earlier, where they just had the human mouth over the cartoon.
Yeah.
That was just 10 years earlier. So, and they do reuse stuff because you had to make it affordable. Mm-hmm. But no, there's a received opinion that it looks terrible, but it's like, it was the best thing of its time. Now, there's better animation now, but yeah.
Yeah. So I'm trying to think. I'd have to Google it. I don't know exactly. I know it was late 70s when it came out.
Like 72 to 74.
Okay, so early 70s. But now that you say that, I'm thinking about this here. The animation that was done for that would have also been about the same time as, Scooby-Doo back then. A lot of the Hanna-Barbera cartoons that we all watched, even in from
they're all played. They played through all this.
Yeah, I mean that's what I saw when I was growing up, because I was born in 1976. So I mean, I was seeing Space Ghost and all that. So that's actually okay. I'm actually glad you said that, because now I won't judge the animation, because I have no reason to, because I watched all those cartoons that were from that era on in reruns, and I loved all of it. So
it may look like some of those, but the stories, oh my god.
Oh yes.
And they could do amazing things because they weren't constrained by
humans,
physical sets.
Yeah.
Makeup, you can have, I mean, we get the Kazinti, Larry Niven's Kazinti, who show up in Lower Decks, that was the first episode I saw, the slaver weapon. And I loved that as a kid. So I went and read Larry Niven's Ringworld books, Kazinti are in that, and then he had like 10, 15 compilations of the Man Kazin Wars and all this stuff. I loved all that stuff, and that must have been like 89 on Nickelodeon. I saw that. And yeah, it's great. And then they're dense with story and have all the original actors except for Walter. But they let him write an episode. They let him write some episodes. So he wrote the one with the giant Spock, who you saw in Dead in Lower Decks. So.
Man, I need to ask him. Well, if we ever get a chance, because sometimes he joins the our free for alls, but we don't really just get a lot of just chit chat time. I wish we could some every now and then, but it'd be kind of cool to ask him about that. What it was like to write an episode and just see it.
I know in interviews he said it was very frustrating because Gene would come back with notes, and then there'd be more notes and more notes. He's like, writing's fine. Fixing the notes was terrible. Which I can only imagine.
Oh, yeah. Well, I always laugh when you hear on the interviews, and especially like Connor and Dom, they'll ask other actors that have been on other Star Trek series, especially the newer ones, and they'll ask, do they require you to be word perfect? And it's hilarious because the new ones, they sometimes actually kind of look at them like, what are you talking about? Like, because I don't think it's not as
a
strict
thing anymore.
Yeah, and they're like,
it was really strict even for TV at the time. I never really heard the exact reason why, starting TNG and all of Berman's era, why the word perfect thing was so important. Because obviously other shows, the writers on other shows weren't they were fine. You could do that, improvise somewhat.
Yeah, I just love hearing Dominic's his story about that one scene where he rattled off an entire monologue, And her name was Mary or something. She comes, Dominic, are you going to say this? And he's like, what do you mean? Well, it says you said this, but you said this, but supposed to say that. And he just looked at her like, are you serious? It's like, yeah.
Like, yeah. Who was that for? I mean,
no. And
yeah.
I heard that story.
It wasn't from the writers. It wasn't like the Writers Guild had a stipulation.
No, it was literally upstairs.
Yeah,
the executives, and I don't understand that. It just seems so. But so until I heard his story, I never knew that. I mean, I would have never thought a script would be that strict.
Yeah, there've always been stories. I mean, I didn't hear about it. I don't think in the early '90s when they were still shooting, but as soon as they were done, then they'd start talking about, like, oh yeah, it was just what.
So yeah, that's insane. That's insane. But oh my god. But yeah, the new ones are like, no, we as long as we stay within reason, we're good.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they're like, oh, must have been nice.
Which is good, because how could you make, Tawny Newsome stick on script? You would have a much poorer quality product if you did.
Oh yeah. I cannot wait.
She could do it, I'm sure, but
oh no, but can you imagine having to keep Tawny and
Eugene?
Eugene, Tawny,
and Noelle,
and Noelle, all of them on script.
No. Yeah.
I mean, hello. First off, it is still my absolute perfect. I love the crossover episode on Strange New Worlds. If that had been on tape, I would have probably had to buy a new one, because I watched it. It was so.
Thankfully, I got it right here, but
yeah, I oh my god, and what made it better when you watched. I think he talked about it on I almost said Transporter Room. That's my show. Ready Room.
One day he'll talk about it on Transporter Room.
That's right. But when he was talking to Will about it, and he said, and Jonathan, Frakes was the director.
Yep.
And the whole Riker thing was completely improv.
It's so good.
It was so good.
And someone else pointed out to me, I don't remember who or where or what discussion, but it's actually the same length as 2 Lower Decks episodes, and it has a complete story arc. When Mariner accidentally gets sent through, that's the end of one episode of Lower Decks, and a new one starts. They each have their own complete arc. They not only made one Strange New World show, they made 2 Lower Decks episodes. And it's not even super important, but if you look at it, you're like, holy crap, Mike. I assume it's Mike McMahon, and there are other writers involved too, because of Strange New Worlds, but it's just the most unbelievable thing they did. They put 2 Lower Decks episodes in live action, complete with their own story arc. It's a 2-part episode, but and there was no previously on, but otherwise,
true.
Yeah.
I just
rewatching Lower Decks and Stranger Worlds gives you, there's more there than you'll even know.
Oh no, I have to believe you on that.
What? Next time you watch it, you'll be like, oh, because it's right at the halfway mark, 24 minutes or whatever. Which isn't the most important part, but like, it's you realize it's a whole story arc, because Boimler tries to go back. Boimler's there, or Mariner's there, and that would be the end of that episode, and then a new one starts.
Okay, I think I'm seeing it in my head now how it does start, because you're right, because it starts. If I remember correctly, it starts in animation. It does. It starts in animation.
Yep.
They're doing
with
all
the animated intro, which is amazing.
Yeah, and so they do all that. Yeah, I'm about to watch it now, because if it does do that, because they do the whole Lower Decks part, and then they get sucked in, and then it's a new one. Then we start live action.
Well, it's not that part. It's the live action when they try to send Boimler back. So it's the 20-some minutes in. That's when the end of the first episode is. Mm-hmm. When Mariner comes, that would be the end. That would be the teaser at the end of that episode, and then you get a new one. So yeah, it's 2 episodes. So cool. It's amazing.
Yeah, I would love for them to do that again. I don't know if they will, but that was.
They're going to do something with Lower Decks. They're throwing money away.
Mm-hmm.
They will reclaim some of it by doing something with them. They're too good.
Yeah.
Well, in San Francisco, I saw Tawny, Eugene, and Noelle, who I'd never seen before, on stage together. Oh my God. Just hilarity. I mean, there were questions, but those are just set them off. It doesn't even matter.
Yeah.
And Jack wasn't even there. So it was just, oh my God. They're so funny and talented. Absolutely amazing.
And when I had in Dallas, so they came in, we had Tawny and Eugene came in the meet and greet for us. And I didn't say anything, but I just, when he was talking, when Eugene would talk, I couldn't unsee Rutherford in my head. And that's all I could hear was, so I was like, okay, it was so funny.
Yeah.
I hope they do. And I know her series is going to be. I cannot wait to her. What she's doing comes out.
Yeah.
Does she get to talk about it at all, or even bring it up at all on STSF?
Just, I think so, but it was basically what everyone said. They're working on it.
Okay.
Yeah. It's not greenlit yet, but the fact that they're letting her talk about a non-greenlit show, that's very unusual. So it's probably semi-greenlit. It's just not official.
It's a real low.
But she's also running an academy, so it's probably not a rush yet till that's on 26.
Yeah,
but
I hope we get. I can't wait to see some. It's gonna be. We're gonna have a drought after Strange New Worlds comes out. It's gonna be a lull for quite a while.
Well, we just had the other year when we had like 50 episodes.
Yeah, I know.
And it was almost overwhelming just to watch Star Trek YouTube that year.
True.
I'll take that again. I will throw myself on the sword to take that again, Paramount, if you want to.
Me too.
Yeah. Some weeks it's like, oh, I have 4 more. How many recap shows do I watch? It's like,
oh my gosh.
Apparently. But
that made me laugh when you talked about the shows because of all the ones so far, the only one I would get up to watch it when it came out early before work, was Picard season 3.
Yep.
I had my alarm set to wake me up about between 3 and 4, and I'd get up and watch it. So Thursdays I was dragging butt when I got to work just because I had gotten up. I had to see it. I don't know what it was about season 3. I think I know we knew what was coming within reason. I was like, I have to see it. I've got to see it. And again, people have moaned and groaned and griped about that. It was just strictly fan service. Okay.
It was well done fan service though, because fan service you can do badly, and then it doesn't help anything.
Yeah.
But
Terry,
if you do it well,
in my opinion, he knocked it out of the park.
Oh yeah, no.
With season 3, completely,
and
he knocked it out of the park.
Dave Blass and Liz Klozowski,
yeah,
who made the bridge.
Mm-hmm.
God tier. That's just all there is. That you can't do better than that.
No. Well, they had Michael Okuda too, and the Okudas helped.
Yeah,
he came back in basically as a super. I don't know what you say, super consultant, basically. I think he was a little. I think he might have been a little jealous because of the things that we can do now with LED lighting and
actual monitors in the back instead of just gels that were backlit with one tiny thing that might change.
It's so
or the weird thing in the horseshoe part, they had to use neon lights to backlight it, and they were hot as hell.
Yeah, I remember him talking about.
If you ever touch neon, you'll know that. Yeah, that's a lot of juice going through there.
I remember watching. I just went back one time and was watching TNG first 2 seasons, first couple of seasons, and I'm looking at the monitors. I'm like, oh my god, those are just good old fashioned green screen CRTs that are just behind the glass. And like I remember seeing
not even all of them.
Well, correct, just the one. Yeah, and I'm just like basically in the science stations in the back. Yep. I'm like, I was like.
Have you noticed the black cardboard yet? Go back and look at Jörg Hillebrand's Twitter account, or he's on everything. He's on BlueSky and Mastodon too, but because he documents mostly TNG, and what they would have to do is put pieces of black cardboard they'd have to tape to some of those monitors because they would show off the lights, studio lights.
Makes sense.
And of course, in early TNG, you can see the lights too, which because that's a whole other, it's a hard thing. And they didn't know they'd get renewed. They were, you don't worry about that at first. So there's actually black cardboard. And before remaster, it was harder to, you could still see it on a old TV standard, but in the remasters, you can see where they put the black cardboard on various parts of the black panels.
Okay, I'm gonna have to watch it now.
And it's he's documented like probably every single monitor and every single season, and it's amazing. Just like he also documents every like weird prop, and like what episodes it appears in, and when they turn it upside down and they put a plant in it and then they move it, and then all this stuff. It's so amazing because like I watched it a lot. I watched TNG a lot, but I didn't even know all this.
Well, that made me think about when you said props. I mean, they've always reused so many props. I mean, how many episodes or different episodes, different shows did the Exocomp show up in? Yeah, I mean, there was quite a few of those. I mean, it was I remember it was an Exocomp that was healing Reed's injury after he got that spike through his leg. I was like,
you just redressed it a little, maybe paint it.
Redressed and painted. It was that. What else was there? The computer.
Sometimes they use famous other props from other movies. The oscillation overthruster from Buckaroo Banzai is in at least 2 TNG episodes, I believe.
Oh, cool. Now I was going to say,
it's just because it's this little tiny thing, so they're just like, Well,
and also they reused. I remember in Voyager. I'm trying to remember what other series it was. Basically the supercomputer that Jason Alexander used in that episode of Voyager that they would talk to and interface with, and it was in other shows. To think of
the name.
I don't remember what it was though.
Some of that stuff Yerk has documented. He knows that the prop house it's rented from. Oh, okay. He knows whatever they have a name. The prop house has some generic name for it. He's like, oh, that prop, it's from whatever the prop studio was. It's in these things.
Oh my God. That's so funny. Oh,
there's some deep analysis.
I'm not gonna lie.
I have trouble remembering the episode names.
Yeah. I'm not gonna lie. I haven't gotten that deep yet, but I will eventually start getting into that deep at some point in time. So I'm going to ask you one last question because this has actually been a great talk. This has been awesome. And it's a simple one I always ask everybody because it's a fun.
Yep.
What technology do you wish we had right now from Star Trek if you could have it?
I'd say replicators, but not for food. For everything else you could make with them. I think that would be great. I could make TNG props and put them all around and put plants in them. And then, if you get too many, they just go back in the replicator and there's no waste. And then, you could make your own little Alamo set, like, Bashir and O'Brien and Deep Space Nine. And, I just think that'd be so fun. Because it's like, you can do that with a 3D printer, kind of, but, time and money and know-how, and then you can't do everything. And
you just brought up you said 3D printer, and I haven't talked about it yet with anybody, but it just made me think they use 3D printers on the Lost Serena. I just when I could not unsee that on Picard on
I noticed that when I saw it.
I was like, that's just a 3D. I mean, they took out the guts, and it's.
You got to save money even when you're spending money like crazy on a show. And and TV's always done that.
True. I mean, don't get me wrong, it was cool, but I just thought that's a 3D printer. I was like, oh my God, that's a 3D printer. But it was fun. And again, I enjoyed the series, obviously, because I was getting up in the middle of the night to watch it. So All right, Joel. Well, I thank you for coming on tonight and, give me some time here, even when I was running a little bit late. And so
All good.
we're good. It's fun. And I'll talk to you later, man. You have a good evening.
Live long and prosper.
Thank you for watching The Transporter Room. For just $5 per month, enjoy ad-free access to this episode and all previous ones, plus exclusive bonus content. Sign up now on Patreon.